Hi quilters, I'm Shelley Robson from the Quilted Forest, and in January of this year we challenged you to find 12 projects you wanted to work on throughout the year. We asked you to make a list 1 through 12 and find a safe place to store your projects. Each month we're picking a number out of the bucket and we're going to work on whatever number we pick that month. So far we've worked on number 5 in January, number 4 in February, I think. And in March, we were supposed to work on project number 6. I got mine done. I'm very excited to show you because this was a special one for me. So this fabric was a quilt that my grandmother had made, and it was just squares. It was a puff quilt. So I took it apart and made a new quilt out of it. Some of the pieces have spots on them, but I decided I didn't care. I just wanted to remake it and make it into something new. So the center part is a pattern of mine called On Point. And then when I made all the blocks that I could, I used the extra pieces of fabric that were left over to make some squares at the top and the bottom. And then all the leftover little chunks were made into a piano keyboarder for both sides of the quilt. And the quilt that I cut apart had a ruffle on it, so I used that ruffle to do the borders. So the red gingham that you see makes the border and the binding. I had enough to do all of that. And then on the back of the quilt, I put some barn fabric, because I remember going to my grandparents' farm and I thought that would kind of remind me of both of them. And then I had a few blocks left over. So what I did with those is I made a little pillow. I had this pillow form that I hadn't used for anything yet. So I just kind of pieced them into, pieced all the extra little pieces. I used up every bit of fabric. And when I put this pillow together, it's got a zipper so I can take the pillow form out, and then I put some Velcro in there so that the gap where the zipper is lays nice and flat. So I'll get to use this with the quilt. This is what the quilt looked like before I cut it up. It had a ruffle on it and it was just a puff quilt. Those were kind of easy to make, so that's, I'm sure, why Grandma made it. First, I had to cut all the pieces apart. Using a seam ripper would have taken forever, so I just grabbed my scissors and cut them apart. Once I knew the size of the pieces I'd end up with, I could pick out an appropriate pattern. I knew I wanted something more than just to sew squares back together. Before I could cut, I needed to press the fabrics and organize a little bit so that I would make sure to cut correctly. Luckily, I had the ruffle from the original quilt to provide enough fabric to add a border and a binding. Then it was just a matter of piecing the blocks together and pressing and laying it out to get a design that I liked. The finished quilt measures 76 inches by 98 inches. I machine quilted it using a light blue thread with a stipple pattern. The pillow is 9 inches in diameter and has a length of 22 inches. So the pattern that I started with when I was making the quilt for this month was a pattern called On Point. This is one of my Tiny One cards, and it can make multiple sizes, and it's based off using half yards of fabric, but I use scraps for my version. You could also use fat quarters. I have a couple other samples to show you, other variations I've made of this pattern. This one I made with Halloween batik fabrics. I think it turned out really cool. It looks nice. I love all the purple in it and the bright yellow. Another version that I made was using some of the Jen Kingwell fabrics. And this one, we actually have some kits still available for this one. And this one is a little scrappier. I used those pieces that have 8 fabrics across so I could get a few more fabrics, a little bit more variety, and I love it. I love the polka dots and all the fun fabrics. It's a pretty quick pattern to make, which is why I like it, because it doesn't take as much time as you would think. We'll leave a link in the description below if you want to purchase the pattern or the kit. Now that you've seen my finished project, let's pick next month's project. Let us know in the comment section below how you're progressing with your projects of the month. I have all the numbers in the bin, and now it's time to pull a number out for next month. We have 9 numbers left. So let's see what we're going to work on. Let's see, it's going to be project number 3. Okay, I'm scared to look. What do I have to do for project number 3? Oh, this is going to be a good one for me. Nice and fast. These are tumbler blocks that I cut with my AccuCut, and I have them partially put together. I've got rows already made, and all I really need to do is sew the rows together and then quilt and bind it. So hopefully that should be an easy one for me. Yay, an easy month. So I hope you have a good time working on your project number 3. Get busy, get it done, and we will see you next month. We hope that you remember to hit the like button, leave a comment for us, share with your quilting friends. You can all do projects together, and hit the subscribe button. We'd sure appreciate it. Thanks for watching, and happy quilting!